What is up, guys? We're the Caper Vapors.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Zach.
And today we are covering a topic that has flooded the news.
Battery safety and mods exploding in people's faces, apparently.
Yeah, I was watching the news a few days ago, and I saw a article, story, whatever they want to call it there, that said that a trucker was driving down the road, and a mod, vape pen, whatever he was using, exploded in his face. And that the injuries that he sustained were not from driving the truck off the highway. This is a big 18-wheeler. This is a semi. It was from the damage from a vaporizer exploding. That being said, this video is not pertaining to him or anyone in particular, so I don't want it to be taken as such. But we're going to cover again what we covered back in the beginning with safety of vaping and a lot more in depth on it. So, to start off, we're going to look at the different types of vaporizers that people are using nowadays. Starting off with a mech mod. This takes a single 18650. They have box mods that are unregulated that take two. These have no regulation in them. All the power is coming from the batteries and draining them. So that's where you get that friction from battery drain and it heating up. This is a regulated mod. It has a chip inside that allows, in a circuit board that allows it to regulate how much voltage, how much wattage, temp control, not for this one, but other ones have temp control, all these things that regulate the battery power that's being released. So it regulates how much power is being released when you vape. So you can adjust it, a lot of them from 1 watt now to 200 watts. And then there's these. This is a regulated mod. This is an EVIC VTC with a tank on it. All these have different resistances. You can buy coils, everything that create different resistances in the tank, but it's still a tank. It's not like building coils where the heat kind of gets dispersed. The heat's pretty well maintained because that coil is completely enclosed. There's no dripping, there's minimal airflow. It causes problems. If you can vape on it consistently, it can cause damage. I'm going to let Zach talk a little bit more about this, and then we'll get back and forth talking between points.
So just a few tips. If you're buying a regulated mod, for example, ask the retailer what resistances it can handle. This one, for example, won't fire anything below 0.15 resistance. Now that's in there to ensure that the batteries remain safe while you're using it. I have two Sigelli high drain batteries in here. These are 3.7 volt, 35 amp high drain batteries. They're capable of putting out the power that's necessary to run this device.
And I'm running two LG 18650s, 35 amp high drain batteries.
Which are exactly the same kind of batteries you would use in a mech mod if you're going to use one of those. But the trick with the mech mod is there's no circuit board in there telling you where you need to cut off your resistance. Our personal recommendation is don't go below 0.3 with the mech mod. Always get an ohm tester, always test your coils out before you put them on a mech mod. That way you know you're staying within a safe range of what your battery can handle, and that way you're not facing problems of it overheating or possibly exploding due to the overheating. Also, battery casings are a very important thing. If part of the battery, the metal part, comes in contact with any metal inside of the battery case of the device, it can cause it to short out and possibly cause an explosion.
You can see that these were rewrapped by GRE Liquid. They've got their cool little logo on there from their stickers, and they've been rewrapped because the casing on it was brittle and worn because heat on plastic causes it to shrivel and causes it to be weak and brittle, and it can short out your system, especially in a mech mod where you don't have shortage protection like regulated mods. Most of them do nowadays.
But these are all things you have to be vigilant about if you're going to vape. All the cases I've seen of a mod or a vape pen or anything of the sort actually hurting somebody through an explosion or whatnot has been user error or user negligence.
Mech mods are something that we started off on. Now, when we were first started to build, we wanted to be those cloud chasers. We wanted to be those guys that could put out all this power. But we didn't really have much experience. And now that we do, we can build things so we can use a mech mod for cloud competitions and such. But if you're not experienced, you can actually cause this to overheat and explode. All right? These have heat sinks in them. The heat sinks help dissipate heat from the electronics in there so that it does not explode. This does not. This will actually get to the point where it's hot enough you can't touch it. And if you do that, you're going to cause an explosion in your face. And you're going to be that person on the news that has a mod explode in their face, and it's complete trouble.
Because not only does it look bad on the vaping community as a whole, but it makes it harder for us to justify the use of our vape devices rather than cigarettes, because that everyone says, oh, aren't you afraid of that blowing up on you? And no, we actually aren't, because we know what we're vaping on. I know my device is completely safe. It's running at 0.28 ohms right now, and I've got a pair of brand new batteries.
And keeping it clean is a big thing. Keep your mod clean. Always wipe it down. Like regulated mods, if you get juice inside or juice somewhere, wipe it down. Don't just let it sit there and seep into holes and cause problems. Clean it. I know a lot of, like, the eLeaf 100 watt has a little tray in the top to keep from leaking into the areas where it actually has all the power. Also, something to look at is your mod authentic or is it a clone? Alright? That can make a big difference. An authentic mod probably will cost you around $50 to $500 from what we've seen. Up to thousands of dollars for that one that's got gold studs in it. Complete gold mod with diamond studs. And that's something you want to look at is if you're paying $20 for a mech mod, it's probably either cheaply made or a clone. And at that point, you don't want to run anything that can cause it to overheat, because real mech mod, like competition mech mods, are made to hold on to heat. They're big, they're large, they're able to dissipate heat a little bit better, and they don't allow for like a mech mod like this that's thin. It's not like the competition ones to dissipate heat, and so you can overheat it and it can cause damage. And that's something you want to look at, is if it's cheap, is it strong, whatever you're looking at.
Another point that should be made about mech mods is that some of them, they have an extra insulator, extra contact, whatever you want to call it, as a space between the RDA and the battery. Now, some of these are adjustable. I had one, it was my Paragon mod, where you actually have to twist it to adjust it. This one, it's a fixed piece of metal that goes in between, and just pressing on it adjusts it so that way it doesn't fall out. But on the Paragon mod, it twisted itself out. It got so loose that it actually fell out, went upside down on top of my battery, shorted out, and melted into the battery I was using. So those are things you have to be careful for, things you have to watch for when you're purchasing a mech mod or using one. That way you don't find yourself in the same situation I was in.
Also, if you're buying an RDA and it costs $5 for like a plume veil, like the one we saw at Mr. Darcy's, where it was a completely shoddy clone. It's something I wouldn't even build on if you paid me to, because it would risk someone's safety. If you're paying like $5 for an RDA that's normally like 30, 40 bucks, probably not real.
If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
It is, unless you know someone, you're getting a great deal on it and you can see that it's a good made RDA, you're going to run into problems. And you're going to cause it to explode. You're going to build on something. The connection's going to be loose. The center post is going to be spinning around. So every time you try to build, it keeps twisting the coil and bringing it back. And then you get the overlap on the coils. And that's another thing, is not overlap coils and build them properly. We're going to release a video on how to properly build coils. Just simple ones, nothing special. And show what it actually takes to build a proper, nice coil that's good for just vaping.
End result, you're going to end up with something that looks a little bit like that.
But that's really what it comes down to is, and 3 points is intelligence about it and being vigilant, finding out and making sure that what you're building is safe for what you're building. Look, find videos, find posts.
Ask the people in your local vape shop. They're always there to help you.
Yep.
Darcy, Cyclone, GRE Liquid, all very knowledgeable staff. Anyone in there will be willing to help you.
Yep, Cyclone 2. And 3, and this is the biggest one, is knowing the limits of the vaporizer and being responsible. If it feels too hot to vape on, stop. because there's probably overheating, or there's something shorting out, or there's something wrong. And that's all it comes down to, is those 3 points. Is you got to be responsible, and being a responsible vapor makes the community look good, makes it look like we're all there working together, and that's what keeps vaping alive and takes away from all these regulations they want to pursue. It's just like popcorn lung, like we covered in our last video. It's something that's put out there as a scare tactic, but if you're responsible in what you do and you know what you're doing and you know what you're vaping on, and if you don't know and you just ask, there's no dumb question except for when you don't ask. And that's how you keep vaping alive, that's how you keep vaping safe, and that's how you keep mods from blowing up in your face and batteries from causing any damage. Always use high drain batteries with a vaporizer. If it's not a high drain battery, not worth using. It's really what it comes down to. And you're going to save your life by being responsible and knowing. And we aren't going to give you all the information you can, because for us to make a video on that, it would take an hour to cover everything. This is where it comes the responsibility to you to go on to Instagram and ask people that are building these crazy coils before you try. That's where it comes to going online on, like, even Google or your local vape. Google and vape shops are great, because there's a lot of experienced vapors out there, and there is a lot of experienced people in vape shops. And if they don't know, they'll ask someone and they'll find out. There's always an experienced vapor around, and that's how you maintain being responsible with your vaping. You got to do it, otherwise vaping will die. Vaping will just be regulated out, cause all these problems, and you won't be able to vape anymore, and people are going to lose the thing they had to get away from smoking, to keep from smoking. These aren't geared towards kids. These are for people that are realistic and want to have a way, an out, versus the little patches you put on that time-release nicotine in your system, or the gum you chew. Because this is the closest thing you can get to something that gives you the feeling, but also none of the side effects of smoking. And all this really comes down to is get everyone to stop smoking and start vaping, because we can save lives as long as we can keep everyone doing it responsibly.
All right, that being said, I don't think we've got anything else for you today, guys, so keep calm and vape on.
Vape on and be responsible.